All right, welcome to this explainer. Today, we are diving deep, and I mean absolutely deep, into the true core of the Cambridge Accounting AS and A-Level 9706 syllabus. We're looking straight at the recent examiner reports, and we're talking all about the books of prime entry. We are looking at the whole shebang: the sales journal, the purchases journal, the returns journals, the cash book, and of course, the general journal. Now listen, mastering these books is not optional. It's just not. It is the absolute bedrock of your success in this exam. If you look at the historical data over the past few years, this topic literally appears in every single examination series. It's inescapable. But here's the real secret. The thing that separates the top-tier candidates from everyone else, it isn't just about memorizing a bunch of column layouts or kind of remembering where the date goes. No way. It is about deeply understanding the hidden mechanics of the grading system, anticipating the exact expectations of the examiner, and knowing exactly how these foundational journals integrate across literally every other topic in your exam paper. Today, we're going to decode that exact playbook for you.
Now I want you to look really closely at this quote. I pulled this straight from the Principal Examiner Report. Mastering books of prime entry is essential. This topic appears in every examination series. When the chief examiner capitalizes a word like every, you know we need to pay serious attention. This tells us without a shadow of a doubt that examiners are actively looking to test your foundational procedural framework before they even consider awarding you marks for high-level evaluation. They want to see if you genuinely understand the theoretical architecture resting beneath all these books. They're scanning your paper for precise definitions, for a clear understanding of causal relationships, and most importantly, they're looking for integration with other syllabus areas. You see, the examiner isn't just grading a cash book in isolation, they are grading your ability to show how that specific cash book connects over to control accounts, how it interacts with bad debts, and how it eventually flows into the final financial statements. That cross-topic connection, that is absolutely your golden ticket to significantly higher marks.
So here's our rigorous roadmap for today's masterclass. First, we'll look through the examiner's lens. Second, we dive into the deconstruction debate. Third, we map out the method mark strategy. Fourth, we get hands-on with an interactive workshop. And finally, we wrap up with your final execution strategy. Let's jump in.
Section 1. The examiner's lens. Let's decode exactly what they want from you.
Okay, I want you to imagine a complex, high-tariff, say, 15-mark sample question. It's right there on your exam paper. It involves a business with missing records, a totally chaotic cash book, and a bunch of unrecorded sales returns. Panic usually sets in right about here, right? But take a breath. What exactly are the examiners demanding when they present you with this massive wall of text and a jumble of transaction dates? Well, they are stress testing your procedural framework. They want to see if you can systematically organize total chaos into strict accounting conventions. And the very first step in that discipline is mastering your command words. Notice the deep contrast on the screen between analyze and evaluate. When an examiner uses the word analyze, they want you to break down the information and integrate it. For example, if you're analyzing a general journal entry for the correction of an error, you must explain the raw mechanics of the debit and the credit. But when you see the word evaluate, the game completely changes. Evaluate demands that you step back, question the underlying assumptions, consider totally different perspectives, and justify your decisions using concrete evidence directly from the stimulus material. You simply cannot use a basic analytical approach for an evaluative question and expect to hit those top-tier bands. It just doesn't work.
And this brings us right to the theoretical architecture of the subject. A top-scoring candidate, and that's what we're aiming for here, knows that a sales journal isn't just a list of credit customers. It's a vital component of a causal relationship. A credit sale directly causes an increase in trade receivables, which simultaneously causes an increase in revenue. This interconnected web is the theoretical architecture the examiners are desperately searching for in your answers. In fact, principal examiner reports consistently highlight that candidates who explicitly reference these cross-topic connections achieve significantly higher marks. For instance, linking a purchases returns journal all the way to the adjustment of inventory valuation in your financial statements, that is brilliant. It proves to the examiner that you understand the complete breathing accounting cycle, not just isolated fragments you memorized the night before.
Moving on to Section 2. The deconstruction debate. This is where we look at factual versus conceptual thinking.
To truly understand how this works in practice, let's picture a collaborative digital study suite. We have two typical students. Let's call them Alex and Sam, and they are dissecting a brutal 12-mark evaluation question about transitioning from manual books of prime entry to a fully computerized accounting system. We see these two exact student profiles highlighted in examiner reports all the time. On one side, we have Alex. Alex represents the highly technical, factual approach. Alex relies heavily on formulas and factual data, focusing intensely on listing the strict formats of the sales journal, stating the exact formulas for calculating trade discounts, and crunching the net figures perfectly. But on the other side, we have Sam. Sam represents the conceptual perspective. Sam focuses purely on arguments, passionately discussing why the cash book acts as both a book of prime entry and a ledger account, emphasizing all those causal relationships and the broader theoretical architecture we just talked about. So who's right? Well, the reality of the Cambridge 9706 exam is that if you want to perform exceptionally well, neither approach is sufficient on its own. You literally have to fuse Alex and Sam's brains together.
Let's pull back the curtain on the science of the marking scheme to see exactly why that fusion is so crucial. To unlock those elusive top-tier marking bands, you have to hit all 3 assessment objectives simultaneously. Alex's purely factual approach is fantastic for Assessment Objective 1, which is knowledge, and Assessment Objective 2, which is application. Alex correctly posts all the numbers into the correct columns. Great, but Assessment Objective 3, analysis and evaluation, is where the heavy tariff marks live. If Sam, on the other hand, just writes down beautiful paragraphs of conceptual theory, Sam gets 0 marks for AO1 and AO2 because there's no proof of actually being able to do the core accounting mechanics. So to satisfy AO3 and get the best score possible, the factual data that Alex loves must be used as the strict, undeniable evidence to support the conceptual arguments that Sam is making. Integrating these 2 styles is literally the only way into the highest marking bands. You have to show the data, and then you have to explain what the data actually means.
All right, Section 3, the method mark strategy. Let's figure out how to capture every possible point, even when things go wrong.
Actually, pause for just a second. Right before we jump in and solve the absolute hardest part of this problem, I need to remind you, if you want to consistently crush your Cambridge exams, you need consistent strategy. So do yourself a favor, hit that subscribe button for Ace the Exam's IGCSE O and A levels at acetheexam_IGCSE right now, and make sure you enable all notifications. That way you'll never miss out on our weekly Cambridge breakthroughs. Okay, let's get back to it.
So, let's jump back into that study suite. Alex and Sam are actively drafting their model response paragraph by paragraph, but suddenly they hit a massive roadblock. They're running out of time, structural precision is falling apart, and they're starting to rush their calculations for the cash book. Alarm bells are going off. When you only have minutes left, do not panic and throw away your grade. Time pressure often leads to sloppy arithmetic errors on things like discount columns. This is exactly where you must deploy the method mark strategy. Stop obsessing over the final number. Look at the comparison on the screen. If you rush, make a tiny silly calculator error and just write down the final answer only, the examiner has no choice. You get 0 marks, absolutely nothing. But if you showcase your step-by-step process, you can capture almost all the marks even if your final arithmetic is totally flawed. The Cambridge scheme heavily awards marks for the process. If you clearly show the gross amount, show the specific calculation of the trade discount, and correctly label the transfer to the purchases journal, the examiner will reward your methodology. You absolutely must lay down a visible trail of breadcrumbs for the examiner to follow.
So, Alex and Sam, take a breath. Apply this strategy and start rewriting their flawed section out loud. And here is exactly how they capture every single method mark. First up, headings. You have to apply proper contextual titles to all your ledger accounts. Don't just write account, write exactly what it is. Second, terminology. Instead of saying something vague like money owed, you have to use precise terminology like trade payables. Third, format. You must follow the strict conventions of a 3-column cash book. That means perfectly aligning your dates, your details, your folios, and your amounts. No sloppy handwriting. Fourth, annotation. Leave clear, evidential notes on your workings. By applying these 4 rules, Alex and Sam transition their work from a mediocre, error-prone draft to a flawless, full-mark response. Why? Simply because they made their accounting logic undeniably visible to the examiner.
Section 4. It is time for our interactive workshop. Let's test your reflexes.
We are moving into our pause and practice immersive visual workshop to test your data extraction and analytical reflexes. Because when you are sitting in that exam hall, you need to be able to look at chaotic stimulus material and instantly pull out exactly what you need. I want you to imagine a 60-second visual countdown timer ticking away right now on your screen. Look at this data extraction table. We have a credit sale on Jan 1 and a sales return on Jan 5, and it's broken down into gross, net, and tax. Here is your challenge. If you were posting this to the general ledger from the books of prime entry, which figures do you actually use? Think about it. The trap here, the one so many students fall for, is taking the gross figures straight to the sales account, but top candidates know better. They know that the net figure of $100 goes to the sales account, the $20 tax goes to the sales tax liability account, and the gross $120 is what the trade receivable actually owes. You must extract the exact relevant data and select the precise framework for the specific journal every single time.
Let's keep the momentum going with visual question 2, Spot the Flaw. On the screen, I am displaying the hallmarks of a really poorly written student answer regarding a comparative analysis. The question was about maintaining a petty cash book versus integrating it into the main cash book. So, why does an answer with these traits bleed marks? Well, first, the student identified the similarities, but completely ignored the differences. That's only half the job. Second, it is totally missing comparative connectives. I'm talking about words like whereas, conversely, or in contrast. These words explicitly signal to the examiner that you are engaging in AO3 evaluative thinking. Third, it lacks evidence from the scenario and completely fails to draw a conclusion about relative importance. It merely lists a bunch of facts. Remember what we said about Sam and Alex? Evaluative thinking requires justifying your decisions with specific, relevant evidence.
Okay, listen up, because this is an official examiner alert. I am systematically highlighting the absolute top 3 traps set by examiners, pulled directly from the principal examiner reports. Trap number 1, using the wrong approach for the specific context. Don't write out a massive general journal entry when the prompt specifically asks for a cash book update. You're wasting time and losing marks. Trap number 2, ignoring format and presentation. Guys, sloppy columns and missing dates bleed marks so rapidly it makes the examiner think you don't care. Trap number 3, this is the ultimate sin, providing generic, untailored answers. The classic mistake here is writing a perfect, beautiful textbook definition of a purchases journal, but totally failing to reference the actual business described in the exam scenario. Always, always, always link every single point you make to the specific context you are given. Generic answers will completely sabotage your score, no matter how factually accurate they are.
Finally, Section 5, the final execution strategy. Let's pull everything together into a clear blueprint.
Our scholars, Alex and Sam, they finally had their major breakthrough when they realized how encoding this process into a visual story method locks complex journal concepts into their memory for the exam. Let's synthesize this entire masterclass into a foolproof 5-step execution strategy for you to use. This is your ultimate procedural framework. Step 1, deconstruct the question. Before you do any math, identify the exact command words. Are you analyzing or evaluating? Step 2, extract the relevant data from the stimulus and actively ignore the distractors. Step 3, select the correct analytical framework. Step 4, execute with clear notation, applying strict format conventions. And here, a great technique is that visual story method, literally visualizing an invoice physically traveling from the supplier, landing in the purchases journal, and then splitting into 2 paths. It makes the abstract concrete. And finally, Step 5, verify your results and ensure you are using precise professional accounting terminology.
So I leave you with this final, crucial thought. When you sit down to practice your very next past paper, is your answer going to be generic, or is it going to be perfectly tailored to the context? The choice between being an average student and an exceptional candidate requires consistent strategy. Keep practicing your method marks, keep questioning those assumptions, and apply this exact framework to everything you do in your exam prep. And remember, crushing Cambridge exams requires that consistent strategy, so make sure you hit that subscribe button for Ace the Exam's IGCSE O and A levels at Ace the Exam IGCSE, turn on that notification bell for all our future exam hacks, and drop a comment below right now with your target grade. Let's get to work!